Verbally Effective with Ina Esco is an interview-style podcast that intersects art, culture, politics, and entertainment with a Memphis focus. Each week, I'm joined by a featured guest with roots in Memphis. Verbally Effective delves into each guest's personal journey to uncover the incredible stories fueling their purpose, the highs and lows of their pursuits, and how through their passion, they are moving the culture forward.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Howard Q hanging out with Double E Ina Esco on the Verbally Effective podcast. Player.
Hey, it's your girl Shayna J with SJ Entertainment, here to fulfill all of your entertainment needs. And I'm with my girl Ina Esco with the Verbally Effective podcast.
Hey, it's Ina Esco right here on WYXR 91.7 FM Memphis. Hey, check it out. Today we are live in the studio with Mr. Kevin Whitted, and he is a former NBA player with the Mavericks, and he is also all about coaching and training and getting these players right. How are you, Kevin?
I'm great. How are you? I
am wonderful. Me and Jay Henderson go way back. She is an absolutely amazing PR professional, and she told me about you and the amazing things that you've been doing. And she contacted me around the time the Big Three was coming up because you guys had a big event for the youth as well, right?
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Well, yeah, it was an event that designed around the Big Three. It was called the Young Three, which is kind of a replica of what the Big Three does, except we do it with the youth ages, which we create a tournament style play along with. The only thing we added was a skill development component, which enhances it, to give the kids some structure and formation on how to do things the right way from a 3-on-3 standpoint, and also just overall help their game. Also help them from a community standpoint as well, educationally, teaching them things outside of the game of basketball that applies, that kind of enhances all those things. So that's what the event is about. It's really a community event that we partner with Ice Cube to do.
Yes, I heard some amazing things about the entire event, Big Three, Young Three. Everybody that was at the FedEx Forum looked like they had an amazing time.
Yes, it was great. It's an event that's been going on for about 3 years now, actually almost 4 now, with the Big Three. So Ice Cube's done a great job with it. It's continuing to expand, and we're going to expand with it.
Yeah, a lot of controversy surrounding Big Three as well. How does that affect Young Three, or does it?
It didn't affect us directly. That was more or less a issue that was going on with the FedEx Forum, where they had, it was more or less a miscommunication. I feel like from a ticket standpoint, it was something that got rectified. Hopefully, it won't happen again.
Hopefully, it won't.
Yeah, it's just these things happen in the business. When you get in big business, these things happen, and miscommunications can happen, which impacts dollars, which that impacts the business. So it's just something that I feel like the FedEx Forum and the Big Three, I think it'll get cleared up. It's probably already cleared up. The things you always hear about the issue, but you never hear about what's resolved. Right. And I think it's an issue that's already been resolved. So you move forward and you grow from it.
Gotcha. Well, Kevin, let's start at the beginning. Where are you originally from?
From Wilmington, North Carolina.
Wow. Tell me about you growing up in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Well, like I said, it's an important city. The port cities where, really, the first economic boom happened for us, post, Civil War. So, the city was one of the most important cities in the South at one time until the early 1900s. So, we were there. Everything was growing, and that's where I came from. That's the kind of the DNA of who I am. My parents, they're from there. My father's from there. My mother's from about 45 minutes away from there, from Columbus County. Okay. And I grew up in Wilmington. Went to E.A. Laney High School, graduated. Was a McDonald All-American. Went to the University of Tennessee.
Wow. So you were hooping.
Yes. So, I had an extensive basketball background. Okay. I was a water boy for Michael Jordan's high school team. Wow. My brother played with him. So he came up in the same community I came from, and that gave me a chance to kind of see firsthand, the work ethic it takes, to make it and have opportunity to play at a high level.
Yes, and now you mentioned Michael Jordan, so we going back to the 90s. We talking
this
about
is early 80s.
This is early 80s.
Yes.
But when you entered the league for the NBA, this was 90s time frame, correct?
Yeah, it was about mid-90s. Okay. I came out of college in 95. I didn't get there directly. I went overseas first for a couple of years and played because I was undrafted. So I came in through the back door. And the way it is today is different. They have the G League. They had all these
they got
all
a lot
these components.
Going on.
Yeah, where kids have opportunity now to kind of expose their skills and hone in on some things before they get to that level. Where when I came out of college, it was either league or bust, or you go to Europe.
Wow.
We had the CBA at that time, but it was going through financial difficulties, and I was going to go that route, but I ended up going to Europe. I played there a couple of years, and I was fortunate enough to be seen in California by Jim Clemens. He was the head coach of the Mavericks at the time. We were in Long Beach. I had opportunity to play in front of him, which gave me an invite to play with their summer league roster. And from there, everything ballooned to me going to training camp, to making it, and here we go. I mean, that's how it goes. Being in the right place at the right time, but being prepared. Unfortunately, it didn't work out as long as I wanted it to work out. They cut you, and then they bring you back. 10-day contracts is something of the past. We used to have, that was huge at that time, 10-day deal.
10-day deal.
Yes.
I've never heard of a 10-day deal.
Yeah, that was huge in the 90s, all the way probably through most of the early 2000s. But once the G League became apparent that it was going to be the filtering system for the league, they started two-weighing players. And that happened later in my coaching career. But early on, you would get a 10-day deal, and they would kind of view you and see where you were, see where your skills were, and see if you would be a benefit to a team or to the team you're going to. Unfortunately, I went through that situation a few times with a couple of teams. And then I went back to Europe to finish my career. Okay. And once I went over there, once I was over back in Europe, I started realizing that, things were changing for me. I felt like I wanted to stay a part of the game. And, having a child early on in my life, my daughter that's in the pros now, I wanted to be home with her to give her a chance to, to be around me at some point and learn and grow as a player as well. So coming home, I figured I had to stay involved with the game. So I started what we call skill development, which brought me to where I am today. It started over in Europe, kind of haphazardly trying to find something to do. And then when I got home, I seriously got involved with it the time she was about 4 years old. And then all of a sudden, it became my career.
Wow. Interesting. So, you just schooled me on some things that happened back in the day from a contractual level, right? Let's talk a minute about some of the things that you've seen over the years transform with the NBA, just some of the rules. I know you mentioned G League, how athletes enter into the league now, even just like college players from an endorsement level. But let's just not stick with the NBA right now with some of the rules that have changed, because back in the 90s, baby, they was playing and very physical.
Yes.
So I would say things are different now.
Well, I mean, the hand checking rule impacted the game a lot. I think, that's why the physicality was there. We were allowed to bump more, and where today analytics is now huge, where they want to see an increase of 3-point shooting. They want the game to become faster, which kind of eliminates a lot of the defensive strategies that were emphasized in the early 80s by Pat Riley to Larry Brown, Lenny Wilkins, all those guys. They had schemes. I played for a defensive tactician, Kevin O'Neal, so he was probably at the apex of what that part of that era was from a defensive standpoint, and we benefited the most from it. And it changed dramatically around 2005. That's when we saw the shift, because the hand-checking rule went out, and then as we got closer into what we call modern day of today, now positionless basketball is taking its place now, which it actually started in Europe. We saw bigs and people of multiple sizes playing different positions, where in America we were still kind of fixated on just playing a certain style, a certain position. So all those things have impacted the game dramatically.
Wow, interesting. Even from a collegiate level now, student athletes can come in and make money off of their brand that they've built. How do you feel about that?
It's good and bad. I think we're still working through the kinks of it. It's a good thing because it's necessary, but at the same time, it needs to be managed properly. And I think they're doing a good job right now of trying to manage it. I think we'll get better in the next 5 to 10 years with it, in terms of making sure that kids they're learning the business before they get involved with the business. That's an early time, 18 years of age, without having the business courses to understand how to go about putting yourself in position to make money outside of the game. So early education, needs to be in place first for 7 to 8 years before we allow certain things to come the place. I think the pressure was so high that they had to make a move immediately because it was so much scrutiny behind it. Mm-hmm. But I think in the long run, it'll be a good thing. It just needs to be managed a little better. I mean, you just think if, we had image and likeness in the time when HBCUs were thriving with in the early days with Earl to Pearl Monroe and all those guys.
Right.
I mean, we can go all the way back.
Right.
I mean, it goes back to that. And those guys didn't get a chance to profit at all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they weren't seen as much.
Mm-hmm.
You can think about Peyton Manning. I went to Tennessee with him. The money that was generated around him was incredible.
Much money.
It's still being generated.
Still.
Yeah, but that's the way it works. I mean, money was. I mean, when I was in college, I remember seeing my jersey in the store, my last name on it.
What did you think when you saw your jersey in the store? Like,
well, I was just excited.
Okay, you didn't I need 15% of this.
No, I wasn't. It wasn't in my conscience. And the thing is, that's amazing. Why Ed O'Bannon really put the conscience in everyone. He came out the same year I did it. High school, he was an All-American as well, went to UCLA, won the national title in 95, and they created the first gaming. That's when gaming became important.
Is so huge.
So when they put his image and likeness on there in the UCLA team, and they marketed it and created what we call the college NCAA tournament from a gaming standpoint, that's when everything, the eyes started to open. Like, wow, I mean, they're making money.
Yeah,
and
big money.
And he said, we're not getting a dime.
Yeah.
And then the Fab Five came out in '92, and they really exposed what we call the issue of the NCAA tournament. And why athletes need to be compensated. Yeah. Because of what they're doing, the money they're generating.
Yeah.
So we understand. It's just it's something that should have happened 25 years ago, but.
Ooh-wee.
It
is what it is.
It is what it is. So we're learning.
Yeah, and I think the impact of social media has really exposed, I guess, you as an individual more, your personality and what you bring to the table. So, back then when no social media was involved, we only saw you on TV. That's right. Or at press conferences or,
Yeah, but things changed with the VCR. See, it all started. We're a VCR. I'm 52, so I'm a VCR person.
I was a VCR person
So we got our first VCR in '84. That was YouTube to us.
Yeah,
because that gave us a chance to record and go back.
Yeah.
So like we wake up Saturday morning and we went to watch Soul Train and we had to catch that move. If you missed it, you had to wait the next Saturday to see it. But once I got that VCR, that was it.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing when it came to basketball. We were able to record games, look at them. So we were able to regurgitate information consistently over and over. And this was pre-social media, but now it's at the click of a button.
Yeah.
So you can actually see it sitting here right now, besides waiting to get home. So,
it's amazing.
Yeah, so it's a different time.
It's totally amazing. I am a graduate of HBCU here in Memphis, Lemoyne College, and I'm a former athlete. I played volleyball NCAA with Lemoyne College, and we just had a alumni game. When I tell you, I saw them girls dipping and diving on the floor. I was like, when y'all get real tired, I'll sub in for y'all because things are just different now, right?
Yes.
Do you still play?
Yes, I'm still
involved. At a big high level?
Well, not at the highest level, but I'm still playing every day because I'm playing, with my clients that I work out with, particularly the college and pro athletes.
Yeah.
So we had a number of them in all summer. So I spent basically my mornings are devoted to working with them.
Yeah.
And our company is set up that way where I can come in the mornings and work with our pro and college athletes in the summer and spring. And in the fall, I go back to working with what we call our intermediates, which is our high school and our beginners. But I try to keep my hands on all of it at the same time.
Yeah,
we have a big staff, but it keeps me abreast on things, and I try to stay as active as possible and try to work out every day to make sure that I'm in the condition I need to be in to participate. Gotcha,
because when we get to a certain age, even if you're a former athlete or not, you have to stay in shape. I mean, you got these kids, because my kids, they both play sports. I mean, you have to, just from a health perspective as well.
Also nutritionally.
Yes,
so no, that's huge. Nutrition is huge, especially at our age.
So you teach that as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, what I want to know, Kevin, is how did you get to Memphis, Tennessee?
Wow. Well, my wife.
Okay.
She's from here.
Okay.
I'm from North Carolina. Obviously, we already talked about it, but she grew up here. Hamilton graduate.
Okay.
And, she took a contract here when I was working in Springfield in the G League, partnering with the Nets. And when that job ended, she came here because she was doing a contract, and I came here and I said, look, we'll stay here for a little while you working this contract. It was a pretty good contract at the time, and I was here to support her. She's always following me and supporting me. It was my turn to kind of follow her and see her through this. It was an exciting time for her, and when we got here, I saw how rich, which I already knew, the basketball community was here, and I just kind of got started, haphazardly training a little bit because we were already established as a business, but I hadn't done it here because I was busy coaching, at the various stops that I had. Once I got started, I saw the love and the passion in the community for the game, and I was able to get connected quickly. And I found myself, down with the Grizzlies, which, we were supposed to be here 6 months, and all of a sudden I'm volunteering with the Grizzlies, and I started my business. From that standpoint on, I started figuring out, hey, this is my niche. I really, like the city, and everything just kind of started from there. And that's how we got to Memphis.
Okay, so that's when you got to Memphis and figured all those things out. That's when it started. And what type of services do you provide, Kevin?
Well, a number of services. Our primary service, is one-on-one training. We try to bring players in and identify things. It's almost like coming to Motown. If young people out here don't know who Motown is, you come to Motown, they try to figure out your sound before they put you in the room where you see the mics and everything, and it's time to make a song. So what we try to do is bring athletes in and identify early their strengths and weaknesses, teach them how to do everything: ball handling, shooting, footwork, all the things around the game, hand-eye coordination before we introduce them to certain things. Once we find out what you do, then we try to put you in a position to do what you do. And that could be a perimeter position. You could play at the post position. You can kind of be a hybrid player where you're doing both. So we kind of, we try to work around all those things. And what we do, we have a staff that's set up to kind of help players step by step. We have a beginner staff, an intermediate staff, an advanced staff, and we have a pro staff. I handle all the pro players. And then we have players that deal with our high school and our intermediates, which is our smaller kids, all the way down to the babies that come in the door. We normally start at the age of 8, and we work all the way up to the professional ranks.
Wow. And something that I've noticed over the years with my son playing basketball, he just graduated from high school, but we were in the AAU circuit, and that is a job in itself, getting your kids, the money involved. But this is big business.
Yes, it's tough. AAU basketball is tough.
Yes, it is.
I like it and I don't like it at the same time. I think that it's exploitation to a certain degree because sometimes kids are just not prepared to be there. I'm a proponent of if you're prepared to perform, then you can perform. If you're not, you don't need to be on that stage because it's too much. And if you're not emotionally and physically ready for the grind and what it takes to perform in front of those T-shirts when they're sitting there watching, you don't need to be there. A lot of parents get caught up on organizations where the kids are taken and they're getting involved and they're taking money from parents. And it's kind of tough. I try to circumvent that by interviewing and talking to parents as much as possible. I have a child right now in the process. She's 16. She's being heavily recruited, but we took our time. We did it a different way. We didn't get her involved early on with a lot of things that were just counterproductive. We waited until her skills and her abilities were in a position where she could perform and do it on call.
Gotcha.
So she went through the machine that most athletes need to go through. Being mentally and physically ready. So when the moment happens, you're already prepared. You've seen it a million times. Where a lot of things are going on right now in the AAU, so kids are seeing things, being exposed to things they're not even ready for emotionally and physically, and the parents involved, and they're investing in it, and we're not taking the time to where I'm not a part of it, but there hasn't been a clear process of how to educate the parent on how to get kids involved in the right structured system to help their kids be exposed to the right things to get them ready for that. So it's tough.
It is tough. Why would I want my child to go through the Kevin Whitted Basketball Services versus AAU route?
Well, AAU is still necessary. Okay. It's not what you're going to have to go through that because that's where it is. It's just being prepared. A company like ours helps student athletes prepare for it. We help kids and parents. We educate them on the full process, and it starts with the basics. Let's first find out what you do. Then we got how do you do it? And when.
So full assessment.
Yes, and why. And when you learn those things, then that process will be completed to the point where you'll be able to do that. I don't think AAU basketball for serious basketball players is important until you get to the age of 12.
Age of 12.
Yeah, because by that time you've went through you've gone through a couple of things. You've taken some bumps. You're emotionally kind of ready for the moment. On the boys' side, they've typically gone through one growth spurt at that point, or they're approaching it. So the girls, same factor. They mature, sometimes a little later. So I think after 12 is the time you really should be introduced to that, and keep it local. I think I think local and regional tournaments are really good for kids at that age. The time you hit 14 and 15, that's when it's time to go in front of the national scope of being looked, because by that time you've had a chance to really grow as a player. You've had a chance to see what it takes, and our development system is important.
Yeah.
And that's where we help the most with our company. We kind of help that development side. So when you arrive and you go to that team, you're prepared. You're not there just to kind of help a team. You're there to kind of carry a team.
Gotcha.
And you have to have those attributes and those things taught early on. And that the age that you want to get them is between the age of 8 to about 12.
Yeah.
That's a critical time to establish those early foundational things.
Yeah.
And then it's time to take off from there.
Yeah. I have a 9-year-old son. He's about to be 10, and he is big into baseball right now. Now, he's played basketball. He likes it. But comparing him to my older son, as soon as he picked up a ball and had played other sports, it was over for all other sports. And I see that a lot with kids when they pick up a basketball. It's something about basketball that they're immediately drawn to and want to forget all the other sports. Why is that?
Well, I mean, it's such a, the sport is so in your face. That's the thing, especially in the African American community. Basketball is almost like watching dance now. Yeah. So I mean, it's replayed. It's talked about. It's a sexy sport. Yeah. To a certain degree. So that's why people are drawn to it instantly, because you can touch it. You can get close to it. The other sports, you're still far away. Yeah. Where basketball, you can literally touch a person right there in front of you. You can see it. It's instant. It's like going to a concert, and you get the immediate gratification. And you get the immediate excitement from something because they're excited. They can look at you, and you can look at them. It's a connection. Yeah. So that's why the game is so. That's why people they draw to it so quickly. Yeah, and they have huge hoop dreams. A lot of them think they're immediately going to the NBA, or that's what they hope and strive for. But what is the percentage of the kids that actually do go to the NBA? It's less than 2%. Less than 2%. So if you're talking about, you come in a room, you got 10 players, maybe out of 10, 6, I say 7 would get to college. 4 will play, maybe 3 will play after college. 2 will play in Europe, and maybe 1 out of those 7 will make it to the NBA. That's how it works, and it might be smaller than that now. I mean, this was just I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but that's how that's how small the percentage is now. It's so tough now, but the only difference is today there are other avenues that can give a kid that can extend the opportunity, where before you would just shut out. And the big thing about our company, what we try to emphasize, we teach those things to our players, that it's going to be a small number of you, but you're not here just to become an NBA player. You're here to learn all the other aspects about the game. When I worked for Nike for 8 years, I remember a couple of kids wanted to come to camp with me, and they weren't really that talented. They weren't invited to the camp. I said, no, still come to the camp. They said, well, why? I'm not going to play. I said, I'll explain why when you get there. When they got there, I took them to a room, and in the back room, everyone was back there, from social media experts to business-minded people that were handling, their legal affairs. I said, all these people play basketball you see in the room, and they finished playing high school basketball, but they went in other endeavors that were connected to the game. So your experiences from that time playing will help you in these other areas. So there are multiple jobs within the NBA that you can do. But you need the experience of playing so you can relate and you can have that intelligent conversation that you need to have in order to stay in the room with a LeBron James when you meet him. If you look at his team, everyone on his team that is with him that they made money with, all those guys are diverse.
Yes.
And they come from diverse backgrounds, but they all are connected to him through the game of basketball. They've already played at some level. So that's where it is. So we try to educate kids and even our players that are playing now about that now, even the ones that are great, get involved with other endeavors, find out more about the game, find out the things that are going on within the game that impacts the game.
Yeah, because it's a lot that impacts the game, a lot of different roles one could play within this whole basketball space. One of the things that I'm very interested in knowing is through your program, I know you focus on developmental needs. What would you say out of everything you teach, what is the number one, developmental need that you're constantly ingraining in these kids? Is it one thing or is it a multitude of things?
It's a number of things. The first thing that jumps out is, getting a player, comfortable. That's the thing. And being, I would say, learning how to be comfortable when you're uncomfortable. I think that's the main thing that I emphasize a lot, because in most cases, when you're involved with what I'm involved with, you're going to be uncomfortable, but you have to learn to become comfortable. So we have different strategies to do that. We do word associations where we can kind of explain to kids, the importance of that, and by using word association, it centers them and brings them to a place where they can effectively think and react at that time. And those things have to be trained. So those are things that we work with kids on. It's just as much as important as we working on ball handling and shooting, which is the core things that you come in for: ball handling, shooting, footwork, game-related activity. That's just the surface. But the main thing we try to make sure is that kids are we deal with them from the neck up. So because those things won't even matter if you're not strong, mentally.
Mm-hmm. I heard you mention at the beginning of the interview that your daughter plays pro right now.
I have, my oldest daughter.
Where does she play?
Well, she was a high school All-American.
Wow.
Went to Penn State. And when she finished at Penn State, she went to Europe and played in Greece. She's played in, Romania to Italy. She's a citizen now in Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Yeah, she's on the national team. They won gold this summer for the qualifiers. She's now in Brussels playing for Namur. So, she's doing great. She's entering her 7th season now. She's doing, she's having a great career, and she's going to probably fall right back into what we're doing after this. She's starting to move in the direction of the other outside of things for the game in terms of coaching, everything. So she's growing as a player and as a businesswoman.
I know you and your wife are extremely proud of her, and I know you have probably a lot of success stories from your business. What could you tell me about one of your biggest success stories from your program?
Well, the biggest success story, currently right now, we've been in business since 2003. I got involved. I started actually in '98. I was a pioneer. In 2003, we came and we created Kevin Whitted Basketball Services. Started off as Get Whitted Hoops, which was a catching name. But the biggest accomplishment is when we opened our new facility, because before the pandemic came, we were in a facility training for 5 or 6 years here, and everything kind of grew. But it came to a scratching halt when the pandemic came, and we had to move out of the facility because it was purchased by a builder. And once we moved out, we had nowhere to go, so we had to really start all over again. And the facility that I'm in now, I haphazardly went over there during the pandemic just to kind of get in, to work with a player, because there were no spaces available. We were only in there 10 minutes. And when I was sitting in there, I saw the space and I said, man, I could do something with this. And when I saw it, I was like, this is where we need to be. I'm going to reinvest, and we're going to get smart. We're going to sit down. We're going to, think about how to devise a great program, at the same time build a space out that really is conclusive, where we can really get everything done in a smaller capacity versus doing things, in this huge space. We can actually bring it down to a smaller space and get probably more accomplished.
Yeah.
And once we were able to do that, that was a big thing for us. So in 21 was a big year for us, and we opened that facility in May, and we've been rolling ever since.
Yeah, that pandemic changed a lot, and really made business owners and everyone in general just reframe. What are we doing? What can we do better? Especially from a business standpoint, so many people have just rebranded and made their business much better.
Well, it made us stop.
Yeah,
and that's what we were doing before. If we didn't stop, we were going to run ourselves in the ground. Stopping gave us a chance to refocus. It gave us a chance to maximize all the things that were presently in front of us. The internet was our greatest friend because we were able to move our business, internationally. Because, during the pandemic, when we couldn't move, no one could move, people still wanted to train. So we became an internet business.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, which gave me a chance to do what I'm doing now. It gave me a chance to speak more. I got a chance to use the other skills that I have in terms of being able to communicate effectively to people, through Zoom calls, people asking questions about recruitment, et cetera, which that expanded our brand.
Yes.
So when the time everything opened back up, we opened our facility, I was able to now bring all those things to that facility and actually touch people again, and it actually made our business that much better. And it made me a better coach and a better person in terms of delivering information, because that time not being able to physically do it, you now have to do it with your brain.
Yes.
And do it with your speech.
For sure. We have a lot of big things coming up in Memphis, like the Southern Heritage Classic. Will you be involved in any capacity with the Classic weekend? Yes,
I think we're going to the Golf Classic. We're going to obviously go to the game, and the tailgate and all that stuff. We have a few events that, my publicist and my wife are going to pull me to, but I'll definitely be there anyway. I mean, I'm going regardless.
Did you see the big win with Deion Sanders with Colorado, the first game?
Yeah, it was huge.
It was huge, and there were so many naysayers. So many sports commentators really didn't think that he would pull this off. And I just love the fact that he pulled it off, and the way that he recruited his players and made it work. What do you have to say about that entire situation? This is a hot topic right now.
It's really not surprising for me.
Because he did it at JSU.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when you're called to do something, it's going to happen. There's a grace on him to do what he does. I mean, when people hear grace, they don't understand what that means. That means unmerited favor.
Yes.
That's when you walk in the door and it's sweatless. And the thing is, even though he's doing the work, he's working at what's already finished for him. So this is, and his body's been through it. I mean, people still don't talk about that a lot, the things that he's gone through physically.
Yes.
To even get to
even
where he
now.
is. And he was jogging out on that field.
Yeah.
So that lets you know that, the hand is on him. But he's that type of guy. He's a great motivator. He's great at organization. They're going to succeed. And his famous thing, he said, "We coming."
Yes.
Like, we coming.
He did that.
So, and the thing is, now is that we here. That's the slogan now. And the thing is, he's always been there. So it doesn't matter where he goes, he's going to succeed.
Yeah. We were so proud of him.
Big story, though.
Big story. We're still talking about it. Well, Kevin Whitted, we really appreciate you here on the Verbally Effective Podcast. We've learned so much about your journey. How can people sign up with Kevin Whitted Basketball Services?
Well, they can find us on Instagram, Kevin Whitted Basketball. You can DM us or call us. You can also see us on our website as well, kevinwhittedbasketball.com. You can always reach out to us, through our website as well. We're on Facebook, Kevin Whitted Basketball Services, and our phone number is 888-780-2216. That's how you can find us.
Well, amazing. I really appreciate you for coming here on the Verbally Effective Podcast. As a former athlete, I know how important it was for me to be disciplined with being an athlete. It taught me a lot of discipline. And, just carrying that over to my children, I see the focus. I see how it grounds them. Any final words you would like to say before we depart the podcast about Kevin Whitted Basketball Service, or just any advice for student athletes at a collegiate level, even professional players?
Well, I mean, the thing I would say is, be true to yourself. Look in the mirror every day. Ask yourself, are you doing everything necessary to be successful? Be driven, but at the same time, know where you're heading. A lot of times, we get up and we're driving somewhere. We had no idea where we're heading, and that's not good. You need to have a navigational system.
Yes, you do.
And know where you're heading. So when you have to make lefts and rights, you still know how to get back on the main road. So that's my message to young people, knowing how to get back to that interstate, so you can get back in line.
Yes, sir.
Because you're going to make mistakes along the way. It's a journey. It's going to be some accidents. You're going to run into some red lights. You're going to sometimes come to a yellow light.
Okay.
And sometimes, slow down. So that's really my message. Everything's a process, and allow yourself to, make mistakes, but at the same time, surround yourself around wisdom and people that can guide and give you direction of where you need to be.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you for coming on the Verbally Effective podcast today. Kevin Whitted with Kevin Whitted Basketball Services. Make sure you guys check him out and have an amazing Tuesday. I know you guys, some of you all out there are probably still not laboring today, but hey, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on all streaming platforms. I'll check back in with you all on Sunday for Musically Effective. Take care.